Welcome to the Prime Dude. Today I'm reviewing the Luchador Service Boot Chromexcel in brown from Blackbird Shoemakers. Let's get into it.
So the enemies, I'm taking them apart. I'm a young boss, got me feeling like a rock. They can never match.
That's right, it's another boot review day here at the Prime Dude. I'm your host, Rob Edwards. Thanks for joining. This one I was really looking forward to. It's a ready-to-wear made boot from Blackbird Shoemakers. They call it the Luchador. It is your very traditional but somewhat, I'd say, chopped up, which I like, chops, meaning broguing, boot design from Blackbird. They're really leaning into boots that are made well. This is stitch down construction. We'll talk about it. We're going to get into the leather, talk about Horween Chromexcel leather very briefly, all of the construction points, and of course, as I always do, my wear and use portion. I really had a chance to wear these quite a bit in Chicago and across the country. Ended up in Florida wearing these where it was still a little bit warm, but these are a fantastic boot out of the box. But how do they feel? The Royce B last is a bit roomier, and these boots tend to be hard and take a while to break in. Now, Chromexcel is a little bit softer leather. We'll talk about that. Okay, the leather first, right? Because we're getting everything. This is Horween Chromexcel, famous tannery out of Chicago. What they do with this leather is they give it this nice tanned pull-up effect. It's almost naturally oily, and that comes from their famous process that comes after they treat the leather in its base form with chromium and salts to really break it down, make it softer and more supple so that it can take and absorb the oils in their tanning process. And there you have it, the famous Chromexcel leather in a nice, versatile brown. Of course, you can see, as many service boots are, it's a cap-toe boot. They added broguing to this for a little stylistic touch. I think overall, when you look at this boot, it dresses up really nicely, but I had a chance on the same trip to wear it with denim, and they look fantastic as well. You've got beautiful brass eyelets in the open lacing system, making this a derby boot as opposed to an Oxford, and you've got 3 pairs of speed hooks towards the top of the shaft. It's a standard high shaft just above the ankle boot with a beautifully leather stacked heel that Blackbird Shoemakers is so famous for. And then the top lift of the heel is Vibram rubber sole, as is the entire sole. Now, it's stitch down construction. That's a big difference, or a slight difference, than Hand-Welt, which many of their products are made of. Stitch down is kind of fun to talk about, but can be a little difficult, but it's not a Goodyear welted or hand-welted boot. So this isn't going to give you that submerged water resistance that you're going to get with a hand-welted boot that has the extra touches and labor of a hand-sewn welt that is channeled under, well, actually the upper is channeled under the welt to give you an airtight or even watertight seal between the upper midsole and outsole. What stitch down does is you take the upper and you flare it out over the midsole. And that's why when you look at the front portion, essentially the 180-degree front around the toe of the boot, you see 2 rows of stitching. Now, the first inner row is your stitch down, or your initial stitch down layer, and that goes all the way around. That first row is the row of stitches all the way around, and that is the upper flared out and sewn to the midsole. Now, these are resolable because the other stitch, right, is designed for the outsole to be separately sewn to the midsole. So it's a little bit different process. Maybe some cobblers will say no to resoling this, but they are designed, stitch down is specifically designed to be resolable. It does add water resistance because of that flared nature. It almost has, you can see it's not just your typical flat welt. It adds water resistance because you've got that flared layer over the top. But unlike hand welted, that upper being sewn under the welt, it's over the top of the midsole. It is great for initial water resistance, but you're not going to walk in the snow with this, or you don't want to get it submerged in water more than like a puddle for a second on a regular basis. It's not going to be quite as water resistant as a hand welted, or of course a storm welted boot. But it's certainly constructed to be hard worn. I put it to the test. You've got this beautiful backstay wrapped around the hindquarters that goes all the way up to the top of the shaft. Really strong construction, nice stitches per inch. I did measure those, and they were well over like 12 on the upper, and of course you're in the 5-6 range on the stitch down, which functions like a welt, right? This is your outsole sewn to the midsole. Really great tight construction, as I expect from Blackbird. I've always had a good experience. I've seen some other reviews over the years, but it seems they've really got it tight on quality control. And out of the box, I could not find anything wrong with this beautiful boot. Like I said, they stack the leather heel. They got a beautiful rubber sole, which makes this ready to be worn in tough environments. Again, not too long. You don't want to saturate or soak these. But of course, Horween Chromexcel is made to handle water, and that's why they're so easy to care for. And one thing I want to mention, this extra gusseted tongue, it's really wide inside the shaft and it flares out deeply. Again, better for water resistance. So a very thoughtful boot. The broguing adds a really cool, stylish, dressy nature to it. I think, again, this is super versatile. Now, Chromexcel is a fun leather to take care of. For one, most of the life of your Chromexcel leather, your horsehair brush, is all you're going to need, because all you need to do is activate those natural oils that are tanned into the boot, because they'll reactivate with heat and they'll help cover any scuffs or surface issues that happen in normal wear. Now, of course, because it's an oily leather, you do not want to dry it out or over-treat it, so be careful. I would say maybe a light layer once a year of Renovateur after they've been hard worn, but I use this on Chromexcel more for spot treatment, for deeper sort of surface abrasions and things that need extra conditioning. Renovateur is fine in spots, but do not use it regularly at all, or if ever, with your greasy leathers like Horween Chromexcel. My favorite product, on top of just having a brush, is after brushing, applying a thin layer of this leather balm from Venetian. It's world famous, very cost effective. Even though it's glass, I wrap it in a nice shoe care kit. This is what I travel with for everything. It is not harsh. It moistures somewhat into the leather. Remember, an oily leather has its own kind of protection, but if you rub in a very thin layer of Venetian, let it sit for a few minutes, then brush it off vigorously. You're going to always have to brush Horween Chromexcel for like 5 minutes to get the effect you want. Be ready for that, but that's all you got to do typically. The Venetian is a nice every few weeks touch to add some extra conditioning without drying out the leather. Now, if you're really looking to get delicate and just stay with something consistent for every day, every wear conditioning, Bick 4 is great. Bick 4 is purely a surface conditioner. I use a very little bit, a thin layer, rubbed well into the Chromexcel, let it sit for maybe a minute, 60 seconds, and then hard brush it off. If that's all you do, that's probably all you're going to need to do for most of the life of the boot. If you want to get a little more, I'd say, exciting about the oiled nature of this, another frequent product you can use, it's a little more money than Venetian or Bick, is this oiled leather Coeur Gras formula from Saphir. I would definitely use this over Renovateur for your Chromexcel leathers. It's a great product. You do not need much. Thin layer, let it sit 5 minutes, really rub it in. You'll see it fogs up. It really interacts with the oils of the leather, and it's designed to really enhance and retain the moisture that is naturally built into this Chromexcel leather. So finally, I loved wearing these. Full review, guys. I absolutely recommend this boot. Right now, they're about $350. I was able to beat that before the tariffs, but again, this is a wildly high value price. It's an excellent price for a boot built this strong. It styles incredibly well. This was very comfortable. The Royce B last is pretty roomy. I don't have a wide foot. I have an average foot. In my regular size, I did the EU 44 with Blackbird, which is my standard size with them for their dress shoes. This worked perfectly on the Royce B last, so be confident in that they're true to size. If you're between and you're not quite a Brannock like me, I'm a Brannock 10.5, so I go with their 44. If you're a little under, then you could probably size down a half because of the nature of the Royce B last. It is pretty forgiving. Walked in these like crazy. Like I said, guys, lots of meetings. They did well. I can fully recommend this boot, recommend the price. I think this is a contender globally against Grant Stone, Oak Street, all of those around $400 or $500 bootmakers. They better watch out. Blackbird is clearly going after that space and pricing themselves in the $100 to even $150 less, but still trying to give you a boot made to be hard worn that can be resold, that is stitched down. They also have hand-welted boots that are maybe a little bit more money, but if I remember, not too much. But stitched down has its own aspects of labor that add cost. They did a great job with this. Again, this is the brown color. I think it's one of the most versatile. They have other Chromexcel products on the website. I encourage you to check out BLKBRD Shoemakers if you haven't. Give them a chance. Always message them after your order about your specific sizings, especially if it's your first. They're extremely responsive, especially on the WhatsApp Messenger. Use it, get in touch with them, ask them any questions. You're going to get answers back within a few hours. I absolutely love working with this company. And as I have before, I've got 2 thumbs up for this Luchador service boot from BLKBRD Shoemaker. That'll cut out the show, guys. Thanks so much. Let me know what you think about these boots. A lot of boot enthusiasts have weighed in on the show and on some of my comments. Let me know what you think about Blackbird, what your experience is, and if you've given them a try or if you're thinking about it, let me know. Also, if you had a bad experience, that's what we share here too. I haven't had one yet, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And other boots that you recommend that you'd like me to review and you think that I'd like based on my other shows, please let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for the support, guys. Thanks for the input, and stay prime.